Give me a second here. Let's just start this off the right way.
Mike. Hi, Kablek.
Welcome back. Sorry, we clicked the wrong channel. We've been doing mass emailing today and setting up multiple streams for in the future. We got confused. My fault alone. This is the official StreamYard meeting. Every Sunday, we have meetings on StreamYard, basically YouTube platform, and then also the TikTok channel. And we're joint streaming on TikTok to StreamYard. You can see both. Well, I guess we lost Mike, but he'll be back in a second. So, Rick, we see you. I guess you don't want to join.
It looks like.
So Mike left. Mike will be back. Dirk, you're the Dirk we've been talking to on the phone, sir?
Yes, sir.
Well, let's start with you. What questions do you have about the movement or Calexit or anything going on at all? We are here to answer them.
Well, I think, like I brought up on the TikTok call, I'm trying to make the connection between the federal tax burden. And I think what we're talking about is federal taxes paid as compared to funding provided. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And when I look up the stats, the numbers are just mind-boggling. Is the burden on California is like the same burden on the next 5 states added together. We're a cash cow, man. We're a cash cow for this country. And if you think about if we didn't have that burden, relative to our state taxes compared to federal taxes, without that federal tax burden, we'd be in a lot better shape. We wouldn't be spending the money on federal taxes. We'd keep it right here at home. So it's not really a question, sorry, but I think there's a compelling story there.
Absolutely agree. Sorry, we're just trying to get the video right so everybody can see our faces. Can't seem to make it better.
Well,
okay. All right, we'll just go to the.
I think the important thing is for the people on the TikTok live stream to be able to see and hear what some of our folks who have been onboarded onto the team have to say about this stuff.
So we'll just answer that first question. Yes, Dirk, you're correct. California is a donor state. It has been since the early 1990s or late 1980s, basically about 30 plus years, depending on how you go. There's some evidence that goes back to the late 1970s. We start with the 1990s. That's when it came really egregious. 2024. Last year, we lost $82 billion. 2022, we lost $72 billion. 2019, we only lost $20 billion. But as I like to remind people, $20 billion, even though that was the low end of what we lost in a year, that's the low end, right? It goes as high as $100 billion or more. $20 billion is what experts in California estimated it would take to permanently end homelessness in the Bay Area forever. Not for a year, not for 5 years, to wipe it out so that the issue never exists again. I'm 48 years old. Homelessness has always been a problem in San Francisco. It's just reached epidemic levels since 2014, coming out of the recession. We could have wiped that out in 1 year for the amount of money that we lost on a light year. And as you were talking about, Dirk, when you look at the states that are donor states, we give 2 to 3 times more than the next donor state who does it. So we are way above everybody else in terms of getting pounded by the federal government and milked and losing our money. And $100 billion is close to half the California budget. So we're talking real cash. And it goes to subsidize about 35 states who don't like LGBTQ people, don't like immigrants who speak foreign languages, don't like women who are upset that they lost the civil rights that they and their grandmothers thought they'd have since the 1960s, don't like liberal protesters, don't like California laws. So a lot of people who discriminate against us and don't really treat us well and don't think well about us, you've been subsidizing for about 35 years. To make it even worse, you've been doing this to your own detriment. So I worked in California government for 3 decades, about 25 years. I recently got my quarter-year pin. Anyways, woo! The federal government rates infrastructure across all 50 states. Schools, roads, dams, seaports, airports, levees, anything that's a built infrastructure, they rate. We're dead last compared to the other 50 states and have been for decades. I think about 5 years ago, we had equivalent per pupil spending as Louisiana, worst in America. So we have all this money. We're subsidizing other people who already have roads, dams, seaports, airports, levees, federal buildings, and schools better than yours. So it's not just that you're subsidizing, it's that people already have infrastructure better than you, especially roads. We hear from people all the time about how the roads in other states are better and ours are horrible. Yeah. The levee over Sacramento is as bad as the ones over New Orleans before Katrina. Homeland Security's known about that for a decade. This is how much they've done to fix it. So as bad as Katrina, they've known about it, done this about this much. But also recall the thing called 9/11. 3,000 Americans were killed, right? The most sensitive location for a terrorist attack, according to Michael Chertoff, head of Homeland Security, was California. Head of Homeland Security, right after 9/11, said, oh my God, the next most likely place to be hit in all of America is California. They split up the terrorist prevention funding into 50 allotments, and we got 1/50th of the total amount, although we were number one threat. Dianne Feinstein, when she was alive, had to complain for 5 years for us to get enough Homeland Security funding to have nuclear radiation detectors put into the port of Long Beach so that we wouldn't be blown up in a nuclear blast. Although they knew that we were the most sensitive location for terrorists, it took 5 more years to get nuclear detections, and only after our senator complained. Add that on top of the fact that you're a donor state, and like Sacramento, ready to go like New Orleans, Katrina. Feds have done nothing about it. I'd also point out when you look at FEMA said that if California has a real catastrophe, they're not sure they can help us because we're too big. You can also look at Bill Clinton, Barack Obama. We had massive recessions here in California. And we said, hey, we've been a donor state for decades. Could you give us like 10, 20 billion since we give you like 100 each year? Barack Obama and Bill Clinton said, hell no, you're on your own, California.
Could look at the Orville Dam.
So there's this other layer to that, which really gets under my skin. And that's, I'm not a finance expert, but I've worked with several finance experts, and they talk about the current day value of money and the future day value of money. But there's also the value of money in hand, right? When we're paying X amount of money to the feds and then we get a grant or funding back, that's not the same thing as keeping the money in the first place. Because when we keep the money in the first place, we can do whatever we choose to do with it. But when we're extorted to give this money to the feds, we get grants and such back that we're required to operate within those grants. So we're losing control over our own money. At the same point, we're losing large amounts of money. So it's a double gotcha.
Ronald Reagan, when he was governor, you can look it up on YouTube. There's a black and white video of Ronald Reagan as governor of California saying literally what you said. Before he was president, Governor Reagan said, why are we sending all these federal tax dollars to the federal government? And then they have to collect the money and have somebody monitor it. And then we have to pay that person. And then we have to have staff apply for the grants. And then they're going to send the grants. And then we have to have somebody make sure the grant got done from the feds too. Like, we're paying for all this extra overhead. Just keep the money here. Reagan said that in the 60s. Kind of changed his mind later on when he was president, but it goes that far back. They knew that then. There's some evidence that we were the donor state as far back as 1977, the year that I was born. It only becomes very clear by the 1990s. So this has gone on 30 to 50 years, and it's to the detriment. I mean, why do we have the most prone to collapse levees in all of America, right? Why do we have the most what are called fracture critical bridges, meaning that if a car hits the bridge at a certain amount of speed, the whole bridge will collapse right on all the humans underneath it. Federal government knows that. You know, why did we have the Palisades fire and people are dead, burned alive, homeless, and then we have to beg the president for federal money to live? And then he says, I'm not sure I want to help because I'm not sure I like you guys. And then Speaker Johnson, who's right behind him, says literally the same thing. And that's the top two. There's three most powerful positions: president, vice president, speaker. President and speaker both said, national disaster, dead Californians. I'm not sure I want to help because I'm not sure I like you guys. And then no one in the Republican Party was upset at them for saying that. Does that make you feel secure? Hey, you're dead. You're homeless. You're dying. You're destitute. Bro, I don't know if I want to help. I don't really like you. That's never happened in American history before. Like literally, that's never happened in American history before, where the president and some people in the party go, well, we really don't like that state, so we're not going to do that. And then you add on top of that the LA Times survey 6 months ago. 48% of all Republicans in America view Californians as not American, end quote. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not saying it. Literally not American is the quote, and literally half of them. And as I like to point out to people, that's a national survey reported by Los Angeles Times and the San Francisco Chronicle, which means that it includes California Republicans who would be a little bit more gentle. So if you pull out the California numbers, it's actually over half of Republicans don't view us as American. That was a survey, came out 6 months ago. LA Times, San Francisco Chronicle covered that widely, flabbergasted. And then we see the president and speaker of the House say, when we're dead, dying, and homeless, I'm not sure I want to help because I don't know if I like you guys. That's exactly how you treat someone that you don't see as an American, like a non-American. And to make it worse, it's not about Trump. Where was the backlash from the Republican Party? Where was the backlash from politicians? How come they didn't come out and say, Donald Trump, I voted for you. I thought the liberals were crazy and stupid, and I think you're great, but you cannot treat fellow Americans this way. No one said that. There was no backlash at all.
I believe there's a phrase in the Declaration of Independence upon which our country's principles were founded. It's something along the lines of all men are created equal.
Not under the Trump administration and not under the 48 to 52% of the American public that backs them. They had no problem with the way that he treated us at all. There was no backlash. There was no anger. He's lost no support. They barely even talk about it. So my question to you and the other Californians watching is, does that make you feel safe and secure for the future?
Well, our president's operating outside of the rules. And worse than that, he's operating outside of the morals and ethics and the purpose that our country was founded on.
Sure.
In other words, he's doing whatever he feels like. And
sure.
No, I don't feel safe around anybody that does whatever they want with disregard to morals and ethics.
And how do you feel about sharing a country where the people who voted in him have majority control over the House, Senate, presidency, and Supreme Court, and had absolutely no problem with him treating you that way?
That's why I'm here on the call, man.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, there are two ways to look at this, I see. One is this is a 4-year problem, and things will be fine in 4 years. But I don't believe that. I think that, this will reoccur at least a few times in the future. And we are basically subsidizing a future where we are a subservient state who will beg for relief when we actually need the help. It makes a lot more sense to put that money in California's bank to be able to solve California's problem.
Absolutely.
I'll get you guys those checks right after the show's over. I want to say thanks. You got the talking. That's a joke.
They get checks.
That's a joke. I'm joking because they're like,
oh, I've got my. Don't worry, I've got my Soros check already.
Okay. George Soros paid for all of us. So if there's any Republicans watching or MAGA, and I take my orders directly from Soros, so that's a joke. These are all jokes. I just wanted to point out, I didn't tell you guys to say this.
No,
I don't live your life. I'm not even your neighbor. How come you guys saying the same thing I am?
I sought you out, Marcus.
Yeah, exactly. exactly. I mean, I think I can't speak for everyone, obviously, but obviously a lot of us have been feeling this, and we have been looking for a way to make something happen from that. And this is the opportunity to do so. It's not like, everything about the United States is bad. I mean, it's
Sure.
not a terrible country. They're going to be our neighbors, just like Canada and Mexico. We're going to have to get along with them. We can do that, though, as an independent country that is going on our own path, following our own ambitions, without subsidizing their ambitions, which tend to have, a fair amount of animosity towards ours. We have everything you want out of a nation. We have a very diverse economy. We are large enough to be, a respected and important nation in the world. We don't actually need the United States to move forward. Yes, we have helped the United States over the years. We have not received that same help back. It is really time for us to move forward on our own.
Here's a concern that I've just recently is swollen inside of me, and it's based on the Greenland thing, right? Trump is most recently on record as saying he doesn't rule out military invasion and forcible takeover. Now, here's the thing. Here's where it really grinds me. First of all, that's the same thing Russia's doing with Ukraine, right? Call an apple an apple. Second, also resource rich, Greenland is no California. And if he's considering forcible takeover of Greenland, our intended peaceful secession is probably going to be met with force, which I find to be offensive.
Look, we don't leave unless the United States agrees, basically. I mean, California can vote, but, as, basically, Texas v. White says, we need the support of the United States to leave on peaceful terms. So if they say no, we don't get to leave. We're not trying to get to the point where it's a civil war. We want a civil divorce.
No, but let me, if I may, let me address those two things. So yes, you're right. With Greenland, though, versus California, so when Republicans look at Greenland, they see money, access to the Arctic, oil, etc. When they look at Californians, they see these nuisance people that always kind of have really bizarre laws and wants their children to undergo transgender surgeries at age 12. So we think that they'll still want us gone, even while trying to expand the American empire, because their vision of America is not in line with ours, and we will be a constant thorn in their side. So, I don't want my relative coming for Christmas who's always nagging me and always in my face. I'd rather have that quiet relative who doesn't really say much, kind of does what I say, and then gives me $500 to help pay for half the turkey. So we're the highly annoying voice person. We're the only place that actually shut down the freeway grid. So Trump had to get out of his car and walk across the freeways. Most people aren't aware of that. People protested Trump. We shut down the entire transportation grid, and the guy had to walk across the freeway in the hot sun. He's never been that embarrassed by any other protest in America. So he also doesn't like us insulting his ego. And so we think that they're going to want us to be gone because it'll be the America that they want. When we're looking at leaving, yes, America needs to give us permission. Texas v. White, totally true. Consent to the governed. We think it's only going to be a simple majority vote. We think Republicans have the votes now, and they would love to see us gone. And if Republicans, for some reason, say, I don't know if I want to let you guys go, there's a reporter called Joe Matthews, and he's already talking about an idea that some in the movement are, which is called, we force the Republicans to kick us out. So he's already talking in the news about how we can be really annoying to the American mind if we want to be. And we can be really upsetting. So when we put billboards in Florida saying, you guys' decision to undo abortion is stupid and you're stupid for that, and come to California, that seemed to piss a lot of people off in the South. When we banned our sports teams from going to 19 to 22 different American states because we said, you're not progressive enough for LGBTQ people, and they actually started losing championships, that seemed to piss a lot of people off. Can you imagine if our governor or somebody high-ranking went on TV and started openly castigating America or talking about how we're better than Americans? Nothing like that has ever happened in American history. I don't think that we've really put a lot of thought into how annoying we could make ourselves if we really wanted to be.
I'd also point out that there's a fair argument that California, if it comes to the point of, an actual getting, obviously Californians have to approve too, but we get to the point where, the House is voting on California independence. A lot of Democrats from liberal states are probably also thinking, oh, we don't want to lose California. On the other hand, we also want to be able to leave as well. And by setting the precedent of being able to leave, it makes it a lot easier for people from New York and New Jersey and Minnesota to say, maybe we should let California go because we might want to need to do that someday too.
That's a great point. I never thought of that. That's a great point. We had always said that right now is the best time to Calexit because the Republicans have more power than they've had in about a century. So while trifecta parties where you own the presidency, House, and Senate come and go, I think George W. Bush had that. You got to go back to the 1920s to find a time when the Republicans own the House, Senate, presidency, and the Supreme Court. It's literally been a century. And I would point out the last time the Republicans had that much of universal control was right before this thing called the Great Depression. And they did a lot of regulatory change, and then we had the Great Depression. Historical fact. These guys are now more powerful than they've had in a century. And if it's true that a simple majority vote allows us to leave the island, doesn't matter if Democrats don't like it. We have enough votes with the Republicans to get out.
So real quick, we have someone from the TikTok live stream who is trying to get in. They got the email with the link and had an issue. So I believe if you click the other link, one is TikTok, one is StreamYard, and the StreamYard one leads you here to the TikTok stream. The TikTok one should lead you over to this StreamYard. And yes, if you get in there, we will totally answer your questions. And that's Sasana?
We could also answer the question now if you want, Sosana. So if you have any other questions. Okay, well, let's just keep going till other people come here. Dirk, other questions, sir? Anything?
I like the idea that you and Mike have both postulated there. We have a Republican majority, so how do we use that from to our advantage? Sorry, my Alexa has taken it upon herself to do whatever she feels like.
How do we use the Republican majority?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So making ourselves so annoying. That's the concept that you said. And that's easy to do, making ourselves. There's this concept that you shared earlier of they don't like us because we're progressive, but they don't see it as progressive. They see it as weird, right? It's progressive, and we know that. And since there is a Republican majority, we can use that against them by being so annoying, just like you just said, that they vote us off the island. We don't even have to vote ourselves off the island. I think that's an interesting concept and certainly warrants some further further analysis to see what it would take to do that. I like that. I like that approach, and I like that thinking.
Absolutely. Well, and that's just it. So a lot of people say, well, you might open Pandora's box and then anybody could leave America. Maybe. But You also got to look at like the history of the Republican Party. They have not focused all their hate on one state. No political party focused all their hate on one state since like the 1800s. I mean, and it was New York State. Like one party didn't like New York. You're going to go back over a century. So the Republican Party had a conference when Donald Trump was president in Congress. In Congress, official meeting in front of Congress, where they're like, okay, California is a welfare queen state, and we actually support California. The LA Times and the San Francisco Chronicle had editorials going, what the hell? That's completely backwards and a total lie. How do you actually get sitting Congress members in Congress to say this and have an official hearing where they say it? They hate us. If you watch, I'm here in the Valley. I got to do this all the time. I don't like Trump, but I got to watch Breitbart and Newsmax and all the stuff, right? And I have family members doing this and that. They're constantly talking about Californians. Like all the boogeymen, Newsmax, Breitbart, for the last 3 decades are all Californians. Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, Gavin Newsom. They might have Chuck Schumer from New York there every once in a while. And then the rest of the bad guys are Californians. So I ask people, if for 3 decades, all the conservative channels are like, look at this California, look at this California, look at this California, look at this California. And then they have a conference on how we're horrible for America. And then Donald Trump calls us out. And Trump's hate of California is so blatant and obvious that the Prime Minister of Greenland pointed it out. So when Greenland made that comment that they want California to secede and join them, the Prime Minister of Greenland said in that official statement, it's obvious Trump hates California. So when foreign heads of state clear across on the other side of the planet can see it, I think it's super obvious. It is a unique situation to us that we are this hated. If we stay in America, it's bad. If we want to leave America, it's a unique blessing just for us. Let's go to new people. I want to go to Susan, and then we'll go to Kristen. Susan, by the way, thank you for coming out.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can totally hear you.
Okay, so what's happening is it's like 2 people are talking at the same time.
I'll try to mute everybody when I speak. That's
No,
okay.
like you are talking twice. It's like I'm listening to a.
Oh.
I think you have
at the same time.
both links going.
So what does that mean? I could.
Okay, she'll be back. So that was just a technical difficulty. We do want Susan to come back. Susan was the person who
If you close the TikTok,
was talking about normative programming. So we got that. All right, let's go to Kristen. And then when Susan comes back, oh, Amy. I'm sorry, Amy. I missed you. Amy, do you have any questions? I apologize.
No, that's okay. I had my video off.
All right, Amy, then Kristen, then Susan.
I think I missed like the first 5 minutes, but so I'm sorry if you already spoke about this, but I was curious about our protection, because I'm sure like we would have to give up all of our military that are federally funded.
So the answer is, I can tell you what typically happens. So when you look at secession movements in the last half century, they usually get the equivalent of their population and military equivalent in equipment. So if you're 13% of the population, you'll get 13% of the military equivalent. The other half of that is that the country you're leaving typically asks for you to take 13% of the debt. So when we've talked to people, a lot of them are like, well, hell no, California's not going to leave without taking their share of the American debt. And a lot of Republicans are insistent upon that. Under international law and international precedent, if we take our share of the debt when we leave, we get that same share of the military. You can't have it both ways. So if you Americans want us to help cover the debt, you're going to have to give us the equivalent percentage of military. Secondly, even if they didn't give that to us, the fact is that California spends somewhere around 120, maybe $170 billion on the U.S. military subsidizing it. If we put that amount of money that we put into the American military empire and just put it on our own, we'd have the 3rd most well-funded military in the world overnight, bigger than Russia. So a lot of people don't get that. When we're talking about it, our economy is so big that if we just took the money we put into the U.S. empire and said, we're going to fund our own, Boom. Number 3 military funded in the entire planet overnight. Secondly, what state has the highest number of combat veterans? California. What state has the highest number of veterans in general? California. What state has the highest number of active duty troops across all 4 branches? California. So we have the highest amount of veterans, combat exposed troops, and active duty troops, and we have the largest military or third largest military overnight. Additionally, most of the Air Force bases and Navy bases are located here. We would leave open the option for America to lease them, possibly. America leases military bases from 135 to 230 countries around the world. If a place like Djibouti, Africa, gets $230 million a year for a little base, and they're the world's 120th largest economy, then we, as the world's 5th largest economy, should get our commensurate amount. So if America wants to keep the bases, fine, you're going to pay us. And you're going to pay us in proportion to our real estate value, which means we will be making additional billions of dollars just sitting here. Or we can close the bases. And also point out there's a thing called BRAC, base realignment and closure. It goes to Bill Clinton in the 1990s. California shut down a ton of military bases in the 1990s. Nothing happened. No invasion. Totally fine. Already did it. Didn't disrupt the economy. So we can do it again. Or they can lease the bases. Or we can take our money and instantaneously have the 3rd largest military with the best equipped soldiers of any state overnight. Additionally, we have our own military. It's called the Cal State Guard. It is not the National Guard. It's called the Cal State Guard. Most Californians don't know about this. They don't talk about it. It is a separate military that cannot be federalized and is under the exclusive control of the governor. Only 2 other states in America have that. There's 3 states in the entire U.S. that have their own separate independent military that can't be federalized. It's a highly unique thing that goes back like 150 years. So basically we have that. If we took our National Guard funding and we just dumped it into that, we'd have the 7th largest military overnight, and that's without even being independent from America. Totally legal.
Okay, thank you for the explanation.
Okay. Do you have another question? I haven't seen you before, so if you want to get a second one, and you can, and then we'll go to Susan.
No, but I just, after everything that's gone on since January 20th, I was looking for you and emailed you. Thank you for responding.
Please keep trying. We try our best to respond to everybody. If I haven't got a hold of you, I'm sorry. I mean to, and we want to respond to everybody. We do this for you. We do this for the people of California. We're not more important than you guys. We're trying to save ourselves too. Our bacon's in the fire with you, and we want to get that off fire.
Additionally, Marcus at calexitnow.org and Jason at calexitnow.org. Also, there's Xavier at calexitnow.org if you're looking for the CEO. And for most general inquiries, we're directing to Christine at calexitnow.org. Right? Is that her email? Yeah.
So Christine is the corporate secretary. She's running most of the communication. She's the gatekeeper, making sure everything's connected.
Our executive assistant.
Yeah, brilliant woman, really excellent at details. Amy, did you have any other questions? You don't have to.
No, I'm good right now. Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's go to Susan, and then we're going to go to Kristen. Susan,
I'm
love
here.
you again. I loved your topic about how you were aware with normalizing conversation. Most people don't get that. Do you have any questions? Anything you want to ask? Anything you're curious about?
Yeah. First of all, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because I don't know what happened. I don't know why it took this long, but I don't even know if I'm on StreamYard now, not TikTok.
You are on StreamYard, and it was well worth the wait.
Okay, so I'm getting myself together with going to be printing up the petitions, and I have I'm reading the petition on a PDF, and I just want to know, am I supposed to fold them? Like, I can't even tell. It seems to start in the middle of a sentence almost. So yes. Page 1 starts in the middle of a sentence. So are you supposed to fold them and it starts where it says initiative measure to be submitted directly to the voters? Like when you fold it, is that how you hand it to somebody?
So you don't have to fold it to hand it to a voter. It's fine either way. But typically, yeah, you take the 11 by 17
Uh-huh.
and you fold it. So it's printed double side, and you would
Right.
fold it, and then the front part is going to have the summary of the initiative on basically the front first page. If you have that, you're basically good to go. And then you submit that document, filling out yourself as the circulator. The instructions are on the website. And then, of course, you don't have to fill all 6 slots out. We prefer that you do, but at least fill out one. You can list yourself if you want as the circulator and the voter. You just have to make sure that anybody who signs, that the address they put down on the initiative matches the address they registered to vote with, or it's invalid.
Okay, right. I have that information.
Yeah, there's
and
one more thing that I think probably ought to be pointed out, which is that every single petition needs to have people of the same county where they're
Yes.
registered.
Yes, totally correct, Mike. 1,000,000% correct. All got to be on the same county. If you have somebody that's not on the same county, that's fine. Just cross them out, and you'll need to get assigned a different one. So
okay, so I have to make sure, I have to ask them, do you live in LA County? I live in LA County.
yeah,
So
Right.
that's where I'm going. I'm going to send it to the registrar of voters for LA County.
yeah,
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you only get to send it to one person, basically.
Well, and so there's this small little caveat is some people, there is a difference between where they are living and where they are registered to vote.
Okay.
So it's all about where their voter registration says. If they're in LA and they're residing there for a month or two, but their voter registration is for Marin County,
Okay.
you can, if you have multiple sheets, you can fill one out for Marin County, have them sign that, and then we can send it up to, well, Mike, you're in the Bay Area, right? Yeah.
I mean, so I'm just going to look it up in the address and I just mail it to the address.
Yeah, just
Registrar of voters in
Yep.
Los Angeles County, right?
yeah, or drop
I
it
can
off
do that
either one.
from
Yeah.
Marin. I'm sure I'm not going to see anybody from Marin County, but I don't know. But I might see somebody from Orange County. I used to live in Orange County for a long time, and I go down there. So I would have 2 different petitions.
Yes, just make a separate petition and go Orange County, right? And then if you only get one signature, and then you just send that to the Orange County group.
Okay, what about if I give if they are like, let me read it, let me think about it. Can I do that? And then they have to send it in.
Yeah, I would just tell them the right instructions.
Yeah. So if
They have
you
to
are going to do that, do not send them off with one that has other people's signatures.
Right. I understand that. Okay, but and then what I would do maybe is have some maybe I have to look on the bottom. It must say where to send it. I could highlight that.
Well, we have a main instruction page on the website, and they'll just need to see the instructions. So if you give somebody the petition, they've got to look at the instructions, because what we've had is people are like so excited and they got the petition and I submitted it and it's completely invalid. And then they get depressed because we wasted their time. So, hey, if you're handing them out, you've got to look at the instructions, please, before don't just run off. It has to be filed correctly. That's the only thing we ask. If you give the petition to someone, make sure they know, please check it out first. Don't assume
Okay,
you got
so I
it.
need to give them a website link. Because
Which all of you have, yeah.
Anybody that I've given a petition to, I wanted to hand like a half page that summarized what it says, and
Yep. Yeah.
Not the details of why, because that's people have a lot of different reasons, but what I have to do and what the general website is and what the
Absolutely.
So I'm going to go to your website and find the link for the instructions and copy that link that I put on the
Well, I'll
handout.
post it in chat right now. Also, all of you got it's the standard email we've been setting out here. I'll do this real quick.
I would suggest 2 things. One, that there's somewhere there's instructions for how to submit the petition, and also with that, how to contact your state representatives as well to encourage them to introduce it as legislation. because there's really two things, and it's just a short thing, but getting the state legislatures on board is also very important.
Okay,
You're
so
totally correct. I'll show
I'm
you guys the website right now. I'm sorry, Susan.
yeah, no, so I just copied that, so I have that. Yeah, I mean, I know I know the link to find your representatives for the state, so that I can put that on there too. And but when I was reading the petition, it wasn't very clear. It wasn't easy to read, right? And it my impression was this was sort of the opening conversation to figure out the logistics. But it sounds like if you vote for this, the following question will be on the 2028 ballot. Okay.
True.
Okay.
Well,
3 years from now.
yeah. Let me cover that. So
Yeah. I had notes that said different.
yeah. So the way that it works, and it's a little bit confusing, is that we would collect signatures now in 2025. When we collect enough signatures, it will go up for a vote in 2026.
Okay.
So we're collecting signatures to qualify it, to put it in front of voters who will get to vote on it in 2026. Voters in 2026 will be asked two questions. One, is it okay for the California government to start a blue ribbon investigation into secession? Two, can we put a question up on the 2028 vote saying, do you want to leave America? Then in 2020,
and that would be after we had the logistics worked out, correct? I mean, so the blue ribbon panel would have a report, right? And then that report would be part of the proposition that would be on the ballot, correct?
Yeah, so the blue ribbon panel
details that we don't know. Everybody knows what's the details, but that panel would figure that out, correct?
Yes, and the panel would have its findings released before the vote in 2028. Before the vote in 2028.
Okay.
You have what's called, under international law, an educated electorate, which is very important for international recognition. What it means is that the government looked into this, the government created a list of facts, and all the voters looked at those facts before considering the question as important as secession. That makes it so that when you do have a vote and you get 55%, everyone in the world goes, they knew what they were voting on and they meant it. We should take this vote super seriously. So that's why you do it. Again, though, you don't have to wait as long. I'll show you guys right now.
Right. I understand that. But so is that I don't see where that is on this. Like, I wanted to point this out to somebody and I'm looking at it. So yes would constitute a no vote. And it would be
I know.
would not change the relationship. So it goes into a little bit what the logistics are, but you know how when you get your voter, it's like it's like a booklet.
The voter guide.
If you vote yes, it means this. If you vote no, it means this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But so here, if you sign this, what does this mean? And I'm just trying to find where it says, I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at the actual PDF.
So if you sign this, all that it means is that you are saying it's okay for this to be placed on the 2026 ballot for voters to choose on. You are not making it happen. You're not enacting it. You're saying people have the right to look into this and choose if they want. That's why we tell everybody what's wrong with having a conversation. Or one of the stories that I tell everybody is, you and I are sitting on a boat. It starts to sink an inch, and then another inch, and then another inch. And then finally the water comes up to the deck line, which is where our feet is at. And I turn to you and I say, can we have a conversation about building a life raft? And you turn to me and say, idiot. That's why we tell that story, because all we're saying is we want to have a conversation that's educated about independence. How's that bad or wrong in a democracy at all?
Right. I understand that. If I hand this to somebody and they're going to try to read it, I could point to that, but I can't find it myself where it says that, I can find where it says that there will be it looks like it's on page 2, but it says creates a commission to report on the viability of an independent country. I see that.
Mhm.
And then it says it will be on the 2028 ballot.
Mhm.
It says it will be on the 2028 ballot first. It doesn't say commission report.
I'll show you. Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
under, I mean, I'm really sorry, but I'm spending way too much. I mean, I'm spending so
Nope.
much time on this.
All good.
Wanna,
I'll show you, but I need to go in order of questions first. So I'm going to show everybody the website, and then I'll show the document, and then we'll go over that.
Okay.
So
I
just
think it
bear
would be a
with me.
very good idea to put sort of a highlighted version on the website as well that sort of
Already is.
outlines the most important parts, yellow, basically highlighter.
well, I
Already
wanted,
is
I wanted
Okay.
to put,
already available on the site, which is what I want to show you guys.
okay, because I wanted to put that little summary in a handout and then give them this too. So, and
Okay.
that's my plan.
I would suggest just having a copy of the ballot, the petition that has that highlighted. So
Yeah,
if someone says, "Wow, there's a lot of text here. What's really in here?" You can say, "Well, here are the important parts."
right. Yeah. I mean, I find that having a couple bullet points and then giving them the actual document seems to work the best. And I mean, I have like a t-shirt that say, "Ask me about Calexit now." And I'm going to carry
Nice.
it around, right? It's on my front
Nice.
and my back. And I've ordered 2 of them. So I want to be able to just go anywhere and have these. And, anyway, I'm making a list of talking points and, not even, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Like we have, we're not represented. We have 2 senators and there's 22 states that have the same population combined as us. They have 44 senators. This doesn't matter who gets into office. We're never going to be represented.
Oh, okay, I'm going to point something out as a consumer of the data that comes from the website. That is a terrible graphic, by the way. It is just a clown explosion
Where's
of color.
the graphic? Sorry.
It's in the chat.
Oh, sorry.
We really need something better.
You're talking about which one, Mike?
What graphic?
The timeline for achieving
Oh, okay.
graphic.
I put that in the chat because I thought it was it's helpful for the conversation.
Okay.
Oh, it is. Okay. It is.
Well, turns out we have a different graphic already on the website. So if you don't like that, Mike, already got it replaced and it's already up on the website.
I mean, 20 years of project management, it took me a long time to figure out what was going on there.
Totally.
Okay, so there's a new one. If we go to the website, it's also called Timeline. Yeah.
No. Okay, so we're asking about. Let me address the questions that have already been asked, and then we can go from there because we're starting to pile them up. So let me just go through this, and we'll go from there. Okay.
And we only have about 12 minutes.
I will try.
Okay.
I will try. Okay, so here's the website. Calexit petition ready for download. All of you have been emailed this. All of you have seen this document. There's no way you could have got it without it. That's the web page. When you click that, it says petition ready for download. Okay. Then right underneath it, it's got literal instructions, which are pretty simple. We can't make it more streamlined than that, or people will start making mistakes. It also lists all the county registrar of voters. And it has a video explaining how the whole thing's legal and how we got here.
Mm-hmm.
Right underneath that is you don't have to wait to 2028. Here's how you can call your legislators and demand those 2 things now. And we don't have to wait to 2026 to 2028. We could be moving on this next month. It gives a script. It also gives a link on how to find every single assembly member or senator in your district. All there already packaged into the website.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's on this page. And it's this link, which everybody has. That is the only page where we host it all. Everything's there. If you scroll further down that page, you'll find training videos and interviews with me. We put everything on one site. It's there, calexitnow.org, Calexit petition ready for download, and it'll look like that. Okay, now let's go to the petition itself. So if you're looking at the petition, this is the page you want to see. So Independence plebiscite of 2025, section 1, there will be a vote in 2028. That's where that's mentioned. Additionally, creation of the council is section 2. And that at the end of that section talks about when they have to publish the report in 2017. So everything is in the document. 80% of the document is just how the council is being selected. So we know it's long. 80% of the document is just how the council is being selected. How do I undo that? We took the 2011 California Redistricting Commission, which was considered the most democratic in all of America, and we used that as the basis for creating the Blue Ribbon Panel Commission. So 80% of the initiative is just how we're picking people to get on the commission. That's why it's so long. The reason that we did that was that people were terrified that we'd have this initiative enacted and then the California government would somehow get their insiders in and screw it up and not make it happen. So it wasn't until we put all the safeguards in that people actually felt, oh, I could see this happening. Unfortunately, that made the document very large. It was a compromise between getting people to find it believable and the California law, which requires you have to print the whole thing, and trying to make it expedient. And that's, yeah, it's a compromise of all that.
Okay, thank you.
Let me show you the new timeline. It's on the website. It's not that one. Give me a second to find it. Let's take a few more questions if we can. Kristen, any questions?
Yeah, hi. I was late logging into this meeting, so feedback to you guys. The link that you sent in your email kept taking me to the TikTok site.
Yep,
And
yep.
there was just some endless loop there. So,
Yep.
and I didn't know how to get into this meeting until Mike, hi Mike, until Mike sent me the correct link to StreamYard. So
Yep.
just some feedback for you guys, you know.
Already heard it 15 times before. So
Okay.
well aware
Well,
of
that's
it.
why
Knew
that's
about it
why I was
before the
like-
meeting. My fault, my mistake. I did that. Additionally, there was only 2 links. So if one didn't work, the other one worked. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like there was 15. There was just 2.
Okay.
But you're right. My mistake.
I should have done that. A word of, well, a suggestion for Susan.
Yeah.
I live in a different county up here, San Mateo County, and the registrar of voters is very particular about getting petitions. And the instructions they gave me, and I checked with them twice, are different than what is actually listed on the Secretary of State. So
That's not true. Sorry. We've already gone over this. You've asked this question twice.
I'm not asking a question, Marcus.
Okay.
I'm just saying that I don't want to get in an argument with our registrar here. So I'm just going to send my petitions to you.
Thank you.
There you
And
go.
then you can
Yeah,
mail them. So,
okay.
But I'm just suggesting that Susan check with her.
Yes, good idea.
Because I think different counties have different ways of doing it.
So
Thank
they
you.
might. Because you brought it up, we've already addressed this 2 or 3 times. I can't have lack of confidence being put out there. You are the only person to have reported an issue with turning it into the registrar of voters. Nobody else has done that. Everybody else has gone through, and it totally matches the Secretary of State guides. I'm sorry to have to do that, but other people are going to get this idea that we did things wrong. We have not. I'm not trying to single you out, but it is just your office, and I've talked to them. I don't know. Maybe they don't know what they're doing. Nobody else has said this from any of the other registrars. Sorry to have to do that.
Okay, I won't bring it up. I just mentioned it for Susan.
But thank you.
I just have to make sure the correct information gets out there.
I'll just be careful when I get to that point. I'm still not at that point. But
Nobody in LA said any problems, and people have already
Good.
submitted tons of them. So
good. And did the registrars get back to you guys about how many you have? Because I know you have a count going.
they don't have to do that by law until the end of the signature gathering period.
So you don't actually know how many.
Not from them. We're doing our own estimates based upon the number who've contacted us asking for petitions and the amount of people that they said they knew that they were going to be sharing it with,
Oh, that's
which is how we did it last time, and it was pretty accurate. Unfortunately, they don't have to give you those numbers, the registrar, until the end of the signature gathering period. And if we did that, we wouldn't know if we were undercounting. So if you wait for them, You're going to find out too late if you didn't
Right.
get a signature. So we had to do our own estimations, and we're already going way above the estimate just to be safe.
Okay, and we can also give you feedback if we wanted to. We could say, I've sent
We
you-
love feedback. We love feedback. Love
I mean,
feedback.
we can say how many we've sent in to you guys, just so
Yeah.
you know. Okay, so I will let you know.
The mass email that we sent out with the call to action, it explains some of that, and it's not mandatory, but it does definitely help us if people who gather signatures can take some pictures and send them to us, or at least just actually, like, you know, tally up how many signatures they gathered and let us know so that
Okay.
we can,
That's easy.
yeah.
And who would you like us to send it to? I don't want to always just bother Marcus.
Me or Jason or Christine.
Say it again. Jason or Christine?
Yeah, Jason or Christine or me. It's fine.
And
You guys-
how would I find Christine's email?
So if you look at the screen,
Yeah.
right there, boom.
Oh, there we go. Okay, let me take a picture.
By the way, you all are the people that make this happen. Jason and I are here to support you and provide information for you. It is the people on the ground who are making Calexit happen. It's not, I want to say this the right way. The back end is very important, but it's all about the people on the ground. And I never want to get that message confused. So you all are the movers and shakers, talking to people, being seen, doing this, handing the petition out, telling people you handed out a petition, getting the conversation out there. That's how the movement wins. We are doing things on the back end to shore everything up. Like I've talked to Dirk and a few other people. So we've spent a lot of our time working on the back end to create an organization that can provide the support that we want for everybody and can also hire professional signature gatherers to make sure that we get over the finish line. So if you go to the website, by the way, we had a professional data manager out of Silicon Valley look over the website yesterday, and he said it's pretty good. So I know there's room for improvement. Some people seem to think it's okay. Additionally, there's a page on there for Cali Nation token, and that's going to be our main cryptocurrency, and we're going to use that to fund paid signature gatherers so that we can have enough volunteers, and then we can make sure to get over the deadline with paid signature gatherers. By the way, this is how gay marriage and marijuana legalization both did it. And we're following the historical strategy those two things did. So it still comes down to you guys. And we're going to be building up the back end to make sure that we get over the hill and providing you more gear. I know people need shirts, signs, banners, equipment. And I know you needed it a month or 2 months ago. And I personally apologize. We are working on building up the structure to get that to you. Part of the issue has been, we've played this game before. When you say, hey, this person's the new leader of the Bay and this person's the new leader of Los Angeles, and they're not emotionally stable, or they can't show up to meetings, or they get an attitude, or they're like, I'm busy and something happened and I can't do this now. It really makes you look like amateur hour. So we have focused on thoroughly vetting the hell out of people so that we have an officer corps of about 35 people who won't do that, and we won't have that issue. It takes time to do that. Unfortunately, people don't know about the initiative until it's released in the news, and then that's when all the people come. So we don't get to have an officer corps before we're already started and told start racing. So 25,000 people show up on day one. Figure out 35 who are really good officers and aren't crazy and will be there and are dependable and can get it. And make that happen as soon as possible and organize the whole thing. It takes some time. That's why it's been there. You have not gotten the amount of gear you need. You have not gotten the amount of support you need. That's my fault. I apologize. But the reason that we're doing this is that we've played this game before, and we're playing this to win. So that when we do it, there's no mistakes, there's no backup, there's no whoops, let's walk that back. It's, oh my God, did you just hear the atom bomb that went off in California politics? Did you see the new corporation? Did you see their officers? Did you see their corporate outreach? Did you see their token? Did you see their gear? Did you see their TV commercials? Did you see their billboards? Did you see their banners? Did you see their speaking events at universities? I mean, X knows Shirley Weber, third highest ranking politician in all of California, knows her well. We've also been talking to guys who are multimillionaires and run cryptocurrency. I've met as more 100 millionaires in my life in the last month than my entire time. And my family's kind of 1%ers, only recently in the last 10 years. So not to say anything other than we're meeting high-level movers and shakers, and we're building the back end. And like I say, we have constructed the barn. I think Dirk, I used this with you. Now we're doing the barn raising. So if you know the Amish, they build the barn, they put it on the ground. And then there's a moment where they pull on those ropes and the whole thing kind of comes together. So they already built it. It's just not stood up. We're standing it up now. Jay?
Yeah. Well, I think we are going to call it here because it's been an hour and we are trying to make sure we stay on timely schedules. I announced it to the live stream of TikTok, and I want to announce it to everyone here because namely everyone who attends these StreamYard meetings is, considered onboarded. You are a part of the ship, part of the crew, as they said in Pirates of the Caribbean. So as a part of the crew, we are going to be putting together little thank you packages for everyone once our crypto is ready. For anyone who doesn't already have a crypto wallet, we can put one together for you and put it in there. If you don't have one and you want to put one together yourself, feel free and keep your information handy so that when we say, hey, give us this information so we can send you your crypto, it'll be there. And that's as a way of saying thank you to everyone who has been putting in work, whether it's physical footwork or, other sorts of work, which, it's all work. It takes a lot of it. So thank you very much, team. And I guess with that, Viva todos Californios!
Please call, please email, please text. I know that we haven't responded to everybody as quickly as we should. I apologize. We're trying. Please call, please text. We want to talk to everybody. Please try. We will respond. And it's very important to us to be responsive. And I know that we're not doing 100%. Every day we're putting in 30-hour days. And we will get to you. Please try to work with us. We want to be responsive. That's why we do the shows. We want to make sure everybody got a response. Everybody got their questions answered. Very important to us. And we are going to get better over time, I promise you, as we set things up free time.
Thank you. It's very helpful. Every one of these meetings is helpful.
Okay.
It really is.
All right. Well,
I don't think there's any need for you to apologize, Marcus and Jason. I think we should all be thanking you for organizing this. The weight of the Californian world is on your shoulders. Thank you.
My mom's a hardcore Catholic. I was raised, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thanks. I can't turn it off. I'm sorry. Jay knows it's annoying. Mike.
Yeah. One thing I'd really think would be helpful was, meetings without an agenda are usually meandering meetings. And I think publishing an agenda for the meeting and asking for feedback, what should be on the agenda, would be very helpful.
Okay. I will include you in that published agenda before meeting and get feedback. We can absolutely do that because we finally got the mass email system up and we can do that. So yeah, thank you, Mike. That's a good suggestion. And thank you all for being there. And we're getting it done. We're moving together. It's just, there's a lot of stuff going and it really is all about you guys. Please be seen. Please tell people. And I'll give it one last thing. You can study all the talking points. You can. And I know them all. 90% of the time, it's just, you really don't see what's going on? Like,
Yeah, right.
you're not watching TV? Like,
Right.
Pete Hegseth, they asked him, if you're given the order to gun down protesters, will you say no? I choose to not answer the question.
Right.
Bro, what more do you need? That's just one example. I mean, what the hell do we small? Speaker Johnson's talking about maybe we don't follow the courts.
Yeah,
What
we
more
don't need courts.
do
We
we
don't need
need
federal
Satan
courts.
to walk out on stage and pull his mask off and go, ah, ha, 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 ha. Like, it's pretty damn bad. You're right. You can know the talking points, but a lot of this is, and I was talking to some of you, if they don't see what's going on, move on to the next person, or at least they don't get it pretty quickly, because I'm sorry, there's a picture of a dog holding a coffee mug and the walls on fire behind him, and he has a talking bubble and it says, "This is fine."
Yeah.
If you're not getting it, I don't know what the hell's going on, and I'm including members of my family. I remember, my family don't get it. They voted for Trump. They think Elon's great. When I bring up how he did the Nazi salute, or what? And when I bring up, and then he said right after that Hitler didn't kill 6 million Jews. I mean, I don't think you need more signs. You're talking about, from my heart to yours, I'm not going to do it twice. You can't explain that. You can't contextualize it. You can't apologize it. And then on your Twitter feed, Hitler didn't kill all those people. What more evidence do we need? Really?
Well, that video of the woman being snatched off the street, like, that is, anybody who's watched a movie that took place in Germany in World War II, I mean, that is terrifying, So, I mean, I understand that. Yeah. But, you're right. I'm
Know the points, of course, and people need to know that, and we have answers for everything. Of course, it's not half break, but
well, the table of contents that you I watched the video where you went through the table of contents. That's fantastic. Yeah. I'm going to put that. Yeah.
Thank you. We got to wind it up. Susan,
thank you.
Can you please email me your phone number? Because I want to, don't say it. Email me your phone number. I want to call you, please.
Okay.
Email me your phone number, please.
I will do that.
Mike, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you, Kristen, Amy. Thank you, everybody.
And
we'll see you next week.
To everyone on the live on TikTok, thank you for joining in.
See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you.